Ilara's heart thrummed like a hummingbird as she stepped onto the rooftop terrace, fairy lights twinkling overhead and the Lego skyline glittering beyond. Noah stood beneath a cascade of white roses, his tailored midnight suit crisp against the soft glow of lanterns. In his hand was a black velvet box. Ilara's breath caught. "Ilara," he began, voice trembling with emotion. He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing hers. "From the moment I met you, I knew you were the one. Will you marry me?" Tears misted her vision. Below, the orchestra struck a soaring chord. She nodded, voice barely above a whisper. "Yes." He slid the ring onto her finger, an exquisite diamond that caught the light like fire. He lifted her hand to his lips and kissed her palm. Around them, friends and family cheered, champagne corks popping in celebration. Ilara laughed, dizzy with joy. Later, they danced beneath the stars. Noah's arms were tight around her waist, his breath warm against her neck. "I love you, Ilara," he murmured. She leaned back to look into his eyes, those deep, dark orbs she thought she knew so well. He smiled. "I love you too, Arya." The word tumbled into the night, like a jagged stone. Ilara froze mid-step, chest tightening. "Arya," she echoed, voice small. The laughter around them faded. Noah's brow creased. She raised her hand, pointing at herself. "You said, Arya." He blinked, confusion rippling across his face. "I are," he swallowed, then brushed it off with a nervous chuckle. "Sorry, love. I meant Ilara. I don't know why I said that." Ilara forced a smile, but her pulse hammered in her ears. He hadn't called her Ilara just now. He'd called her Arya, like someone else entirely. She laughed again, but it sounded brittle even to her own ears. "It's okay. I guess the excitement got to you." He kissed her cheek, pressing her closer. "Come on. Let's enjoy this night." Still, the word Arya echoed through her mind as they walked back to the city lights. She tried to push it away, to focus on the warmth in his arms and the sparkle of that ring. Yet even as she smiled, doubt had taken root. If he could call her by another name in this perfect moment, how well did she really know the man she was trusting with her life? Later, as they drove home, Ilara watched his profile in the rearview mirror. He hummed softly, oblivious to her silent turmoil. Outside, the night sky stretched vast and promising, yet something in Ilara's heart shivered, as though warning her of a storm to come. The morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, painting Ilara's bedroom in soft gold. She lay beside Noah, tangled in white sheets, the ring still warm on her finger. Last night's celebration felt like a dream. She traced the diamond's facets, willing herself to believe in its promise. He stirred, reaching for her. "Good morning, my beautiful Ilara," he whispered. His voice was honeyed warmth. She exhaled relief, until his lips curved, and he spoke again. "Good morning, Arya." Her chest seized. He called her Arya again. She froze under his gaze, panic rising. "Noah," her voice trembled. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "What is it?" Concern creased his brow. She swallowed, voice catching. "You said, Arya." He frowned, then patted his pillow. "Come here." He beckoned with a smile. Ilara hesitated, then slid closer. He wrapped her in his arms. "You're the only Ilara I've ever known," he murmured, kissing her temple. "I'm so in love with you." His words soothed her frayed nerves, but doubt gnawed at her. Over breakfast, French toast with mango compote. She watched him across the table, searching his features. The slight cleft in his chin, the curve of his lips, the warmth in his gaze. Everything felt intimate and familiar. Yet 2 nights ago, he had called her by another name. She tried to dismiss it. Maybe he was just tired, exhausted after the surprise party. She busied herself with coffee, stirring cream in slow circles. "Ready for work?" she asked. He nodded, brushing a kiss against her palm. "We have dinner plans tonight with my parents." He hesitated, gaze darkening. "I hope that's still okay." She nodded, heart fluttering. "Of course. I can't wait." He stood, straightening his tie. As he walked toward the door, she called after him. "Noah, do you remember any dreams from last night?" He paused, glancing back. "Just the usual, nothing worth mentioning." He smiled, then exited. Ilara watched him go, trepidation coiling in her gut. She retrieved her phone and opened his Spotify, something she'd never done before. Her heart pounded as she typed Aria in the search bar. A private playlist appeared. For Aria. She hesitated, thumb hovering. Finally, she tapped it open. The first song was Our Melody, their song from the night they met. Yet the vocals were different, deeper, more haunting. She tapped the next. Another track they loved, but again, the voice wasn't his. Each song dragged at her chest. Who was behind this playlist? And why was it hidden so deliberately? An hour later, she slipped into his study. The door was closed, but unlocked. She found a leather-bound journal on the desk. Its pages were filled with neat-inked entries, all addressed to Aria. Poetic declarations, memories of places Ilara did not share with him. Our sunset in Verona. The night we danced in Rome. Our first skydiving jump. Ilara's knees weakened. She sank to the floor, journal clutched to her chest. Every entry chipped away at the perfect mosaic she'd built around Noah. He'd lied about their past, about her place in it. The sun climbed higher, and Ilara sat alone on the polished wood floor, her wedding ring hot and heavy on her finger. The world she thought she knew had tilted off its axis, leaving her to wonder how much of their love was real, and how much was borrowed from someone else's life. By lunchtime, Ilara's mind raced. The study door clicked behind her as she tried to conceal the journal beneath her coat. She returned to her office, forcing a calm smile as co-workers greeted her. "Everything okay?" asked Marisol, peering at Ilara's eyes. "You look distracted." Ilara forced a laugh. "Just had a weird dream." She half expected Marisol to press further, but instead she nodded sympathetically. Back at home that evening, Noah greeted her with a warm hug. "You look tired," he said, concern in his voice. He guided her to the couch. "Tell me what's wrong." Ilara hesitated, then exhaled. "I found a playlist." She watched him stiffen. He sank beside her, folding her fingers in his. "It's nothing. Just something I made for someone I knew before you." Her throat tightened. "Before me?" He winced. "It's complicated. I'd like to tell you, but it's in the past." He paused, searching her face. "But I'm here now. And I love you." She wanted to believe him. She clung to his words like a life raft. "Okay," she whispered. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Let's forget all that and focus on us." He stood, fetching a bottle of wine from the bar. "Dinner in an hour?" Ilara nodded, but dread twisted in her chest. After he left the room, she retrieved her phone and replayed a voicemail from Tessa, the woman at her door days ago, who'd asked to meet. The message was clipped urgent. "He'll gaslight you. He'll tell you you're imagining things. Don't believe him. Please be careful." Her hand shook. Had Noah arranged this encounter? Or was Tessa telling the truth? That night, at dinner, Noah was charming, attentive, playful, whispering sweet promises. But every time he brushed her shoulder or caught her eye, Ilara flinched. She tasted mistrust in his laughter. Later, as they lay in bed, Noah traced patterns on her arm. "Dream of me tonight, Ilara." She turned away, looking at the ceiling. "I don't know what to dream anymore." He frowned, but didn't press. Instead, he tenderly tucked her hair behind her ear and kissed her cheek. "I'll be here," he whispered. Alone in the darkness, Ilara stared at the ceiling. The silhouette of Noah's figure lay beside her, his back turned. She clenched the journal in her hand, feeling its weight like a chain. He'd apologized, given excuses, but none erased the evidence. Outside, the city's neon lights pulsed, a living entity she once found so comforting. Now, they felt like watchful eyes, reminding her that someone else's memories haunted her every step. Ilara closed her eyes, exhaustion and fear battling for dominance. Sleep eluded her as doubts and questions tangled together. Tomorrow, she vowed, she would find answers. The next morning, Ilara arrived at Noah's penthouse before he did, feigning errands nearby. The elevator chimed, door slid open, and she slipped inside, heart racing. She stepped off on the 12th floor, every step echoing in the marble hallway. Inside his study, she sat at his desk, phone in hand. She opened the hidden Spotify playlist again. for Aria. The track titles were innocuous: Midnight Confession, Lost in Rome, Last Goodbye. But she recognized the lyrics as lines he'd whispered to her on their first trip. She tapped play on Midnight Confession. The song began with a woman's voice, a voice Alara had never heard. It was sultry and intimate, describing moments Alara had shared with Noah, the scent of jasmine at midnight, the way his hand found hers in the dark. Tears stung her eyes. He'd recorded these lines as though they belonged to Aria's past. She scrolled through the playlist, 20 songs, each a twisted echo of her life. Alara's mind spun. Did he see himself as writing love letters to Aria, imprinting those memories onto Alara's mind? A knock on the door startled her. She stashed the phone beneath the journal and tossed the journal into a drawer, lifting the lid just as Noah entered. "Hey," he said, setting his briefcase aside. He frowned at the open drawer. "What are you?" Alara closed the drawer with deliberate calm. "I was curious," she said softly, voice steady. "I saw you had a playlist titled for Aria." His expression hardened. "I told you, it's nothing." She rose, folding her arms. "It's everything. These songs, our songs, recorded by someone else. Who is Aria?" Noah's gaze flickered away, jaw tightening. "I can't talk about her. She's gone." Alara's pulse pounded. "She's gone. Or you made her disappear?" He took a step forward, voice low. "You want the truth. Fine, but you won't like it." She braced herself. "Try me." He closed the distance, chest tense. "Aria was real. She was before you. We were in love." His eyes glistened. "Then she was gone. I never got closure." Alara's breath caught. "And so you started over with me, using her memories as a blueprint." He ran a hand through his hair. "I thought I could bury her. I thought loving you would fix it." She stared at him, disbelief and pity warring inside her. "You didn't just bury her. You buried me in her shadow." For a long silence, they stood in the stillness of the study, the only sound the distant hum of traffic below. Then Noah reached out, but she recoiled. "I'm sorry," he whispered, voice cracking. "I love you." Alara's vision blurred with tears. "I don't know what that means anymore." She turned and fled, journal clutched to her heart. Outside the door, she paused, hand on the knob. Her reflection stared back at her, eyes swollen, lips trembling. She realized how fragile the boundary between reality and illusion had become. Inside, Noah sank into his chair, head in hands. The playlist's final song played on loop, a woman's voice whispering, "Aria, come back to me." And Alara knew there would be no turning back. That evening, Alara retreated to her childhood home on Victoria Island, an oasis of familiar scents and worn mahogany floors. She needed distance from Noah's penthouse and its haunting echoes. In her old bedroom, she opened the leather journal once more. The pages were dense with ink memories. Our first kiss at the Colosseum. The day you taught me to swim in Amalfi. When you whispered my name under Parisian rain. Each entry detailed moments Alara never shared. Aria's past was laid bare in every cursive flourish. Alara flipped to the newest entry, June 12, 2023. Alara, it read, "Tonight I wake with you in my arms. Your scent is jasmine, your voice my salvation." Her breath hitched. The date was last month, long after Aria's disappearance, long after Alara and Noah had met. Anger flared. She clutched the journal, turning pages until she found a pressed rose petal, brittle and faded. Beneath it was a photograph, a woman with dark curls and bright eyes, standing beside Noah under an arch of bougainvillea. On the back, in his hand, "Aria and Noah, Mykonos, 2021. Alara's vision blurred. She'd thought the journal proof of Noah's deception, but now it spoke of a life she'd never lived, and a love he'd never truly moved on from. Her phone buzzed, a message from Tessa. "Meet me at the cafe on Awolowo. 9 a.m. Bring the journal." Alara sank onto the edge of her bed, heart pounding. Tessa, the woman who'd warned her. Could she trust her? But she had no other leads. She tucked the journal into her bag and drifted into fitful sleep, mind racing with questions. At dawn, Alara arrived at the cafe. Tessa stood by the window, face pale, eyes haunted. She motioned Alara over. "This is real," Tessa said, voice trembling as she pulled out her own copy of the journal's photograph. "I was Aria's friend. When she vanished, I tried to find her. I confronted Noah. He told me she left him." Alara's breath caught. "He lied." Tessa nodded. "He's been rewriting her life around you. He thinks if he loves you enough, he can erase her. But she's gone and you're next." Alara gripped the journal. "What happened to her?" Tessa hesitated, tears filling her eyes. "No one knows. He said she died accident." Alara's stomach lurched. "I have to know the truth." Tessa reached across the table. "Then we find it together, before he writes one more line." Outside, the city pulsed with life, oblivious to the storm brewing in their cafe booth. Alara tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and faced Tessa, determination shining in her eyes. "This ends," she whispered, and as daylight spilled through the windows, Alara felt the first flicker of hope. Hope that truth could outshine obsession, that her own story might finally be hers to write. Alara stared at the photograph on Noah's nightstand. A sun-drenched piazza in Florence, two silhouettes entwined on a balcony overlooking the Arno. He had never once mentioned a trip to Italy, and she had certainly never been there. Yet here was tangible proof, pressed against glossy cardstock. That evening, she joined Noah for dinner in his sleek dining room. Candlelight danced on crystal glasses as he recounted a tale. "Do you remember our walk through Siena?" he asked, smiling. "How we stumbled upon that little trattoria?" Alara's fork clattered against her plate. "Siena," she echoed, voice tight. I don't remember that." He paused mid-sip of wine, brow furrowing. "You forgot." He set his glass down. "We talked about it this afternoon, on the terrace. The sunlight was perfect, and you said it felt like a dream." Her chest constricted. "I wasn't there, Noah." She pushed back her chair, standing. "I've never been to Italy." He blinked, confusion swirling in his eyes. He reached for her hand. "You were with me." His voice dropped to a whisper. "You were always with me." Alara pulled away. "Stop it." Noah's expression hardened. "I'm telling you the truth." She dropped into a chair, adrenaline pulsing through her veins. "You're telling me stories about places we never went, memories I don't have." He straightened his lapels, jaw set. "I know it sounds unbelievable, but you were there. We were in love." Alara's gaze darted around the room, searching for some anchor of reality. Everything looked the same. His watch collection in the cabinet, the Persian rug beneath her feet, the scent of sandalwood drifting from the diffuser. But nothing felt familiar. "Why would you invent these memories?" she demanded. Noah drew in a shaky breath. "I didn't invent them, I remembered them." She stood, trembling. "No one can remember someone else's life, Noah. You're gaslighting me." He rose, closing the distance between them. "Alara, please." His voice cracked. "I'm not trying to hurt you." She backed toward the door. "Then stop pretending this is our story." His hand hovered in the air, as if he wanted to grasp her sleeve. He dropped his gaze, voice softer. "I thought if I told you about her, Arya, you'd understand why I loved you so fiercely." Alara's throat ached. "You loved her, but I'm not her." Noah's eyes glistened. "I know." Silence settled, heavy as stone. Alara sank onto the couch, chest heaving. She touched her ring finger, feeling the cold weight of the diamond. It no longer sparkled with promise, but glinted with shards of doubt. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet. "I need to think." Noah nodded, as though accepting defeat. He retreated to the kitchen, leaving her alone with the echo of his words. Behind her, the photograph of Florence gleamed under the chandelier, a silent testament to the life she could never claim. 3 days later, Alara awoke to an empty house and a blinking voicemail icon on her phone. Noah's ringtone, a familiar piano melody, felt like a siren. She dialed his number. It went straight to his email, then to silence. Panic twisted her stomach. She rifled through the apartment. His jacket was gone, his suitcase missing. On the coffee table lay a single red rose, its petals fresh but bleeding sap. No note. She called Tessa first. No answer. Then Marisol. He wasn't at the office. Marisol said after checking. No one saw him after lunch. Ilara paced the living room, memories of Italy swirling in her mind. She pressed her palm to her belly, where the ring bit into her skin. Every moment without his voice felt like an eternity. She visited the police station downtown, filed a missing person report with trembling hands. The officer took her statement but offered little reassurance. Sometimes people need space, he said. Ilara blinked back tears. Space? He was orchestrating an obsession, not disappearing on a sabbatical. She spent the afternoon calling friends, checking hospitals, hotel registries, anywhere a man named Noah Adedeji might surface. Nothing. Nights and days blurred. She began sleeping in his bed, hoping he would return. On the third night, she received a text from an unknown number. You'll forgive me soon. No signature. Her phone buzzed again. Tessa. Meet me at Jobby Lake tomorrow morning. Urgent. That night, Ilara clutched her pillow, listening to the hum of the air conditioner. She dreamed of Arya, shadowy and ethereal, reaching out to her, lips mouthing, "Help me." She woke gasping, heart pounding. At dawn, she drove to Jobby Lake. Mist curled over the water, and Tessa stood by the pier, arms folded. Her face was drawn, eyes rimmed with sleeplessness. He's safe, Tessa said without preamble. But he's not coming back on his own. Ilara's breath caught. What happened? Tessa led her behind a cluster of palms. He was forced by someone in high places. She pulled out a photo. Noah at a remote campsite, ropes binding his wrists, rose petals scattered at his feet. His face was gaunt, eyes hollow. Ilara's legs went weak. Who did this? Tessa shook her head. I don't know. He managed to escape and reached out to me. He smelled like rose perfume, the same scent Arya wore. Ilara's blood ran cold. We need to find him. Tessa took her hand. We will. They stood at the water's edge, wind tangling their hair. Ilara closed her eyes, feeling the enormity of the hunt ahead. Noah's disappearance had torn open a world of secrets, and she was determined not to be lost in it. That afternoon, Ilara returned to the penthouse, escorted by 2 detectives. She climbed the marble staircase, with her heart in her throat. The door swung open, revealing an empty foyer. A soft knock sounded behind her. She spun to see a young woman, tears staining her cheeks. I'm sorry, the woman said, voice quavering. I'm Leah. Ilara's pulse thundered. Leah. Leah wiped her cheeks. I was Arya's roommate. She disappeared. I came because I had a feeling you'd want to know. She stepped inside, folding her arms. What do you know? Leah clasped her hands. I never met you, but I watched you 2 together from afar. Noah told me he loved Arya more than anything. Then she vanished, and he shut me out. Ilara pressed her lips together. Didn't you try to go to the police? Leah nodded. They thought it was a runaway case. But I knew something was wrong. He made me believe she left him for someone else. Ilara led her to the study. Leah's eyes landed on the journal. She gasped. He kept a record of her life, like he's living through it again. Leah recounted late-night calls from Noah, desperate whispers of guilt and longing. He said he'd never forgive himself, she said. He begged me not to look for her. Ilara sank into a chair. I'm so sorry. Leah knelt beside her. You deserve to know the truth. He's broken, but he needs help. Ilara's hands trembled around her coffee mug. I'm going to find him. Leah squeezed her shoulder. I'll help. I still have her phone, her last messages. She handed over a battered smartphone. She was scared of him, and of wherever he took her. Ilara swallowed. Thank you. As Leah left, Ilara stared at the door. The puzzle pieces were scattering before her, each new ally, each wounded memory. She rose, determination solidifying. She would find both Noah and Arya, unravel the obsession that held them captive, and reclaim her own story from the shadows of another woman's past. Armed with Arya's phone, Ilara and Tessa pored over the messages. The last thread of texts was dated July 2019, before Arya vanished. They referred to a charity gala in Accra, to which Arya had invited Noah. We need to go there, Ilara said, tracing a trembling finger across the screen. Tessa nodded. I'll arrange our tickets, but it might be safer to go undercover. They booked flights under pseudonyms. At the Accra airport, Ilara's pulse raced as they collected their bags. The charity gala was a black-tie affair on the seaside promenade. Photos of Arya and Noah smiling on the red carpet greeted them. Arya in a sapphire gown, Noah in a tuxedo that matched her eyes. Ilara studied the image, Arya's hand resting on Noah's arm, her laughter captured mid-sentence. He looked adoring, so different from the haunted man she'd met. They approached the venue as dusk settled. Tessa slipped inside with a fake invitation. Ilara managed to charm her way past the velvet rope by claiming she was an event planner checking logistics. Inside, they found the gala's coordinator, a portly man named Mr. Asante. Under the gentle sway of palm fronds and crystal chandeliers, Ilara introduced herself. I'm here on behalf of a writer interested in covering last year's highlights. He beamed. Of course. Anything I can help with. Ilara showed him Arya's photo. His face fell. Arya Kent, he asked softly. She was a dear supporter. She left suddenly, disappeared after the gala. Noah blamed himself. Ilara's heart clenched. Do you know where she went? He shook his head. Her accommodations were booked at the Cape Coast Hotel. After checkout, there was no record of her onward travel. He escorted Ilara to a computer. This is the last email she sent to Noah. On screen, an email draft. Noah, something feels off. I think someone is watching. Promise me you'll protect me. Ilara stared at the chilling words. She was scared. Mr. Asante nodded gravely. No one ever heard from her again. Ilara felt Tessa's hand on her shoulder. We need to find her room. They slipped out with the key card number. At the old hotel wing, the door to room 312 beckoned. Ilara inserted the card. The lock clicked open. Inside, dust motes floated in the lamplight. On the bedside table lay a rose-scented candle and a crumpled note. Help me. Ilara picked it up, voice trembling. She was real, and he failed her. Tessa pressed the journal into her hands. Now we'll make sure her story, and yours, ends differently. Back in Lagos, Ilara sank into Noah's study chair. The borrowed laptop hummed before her as she logged into his old email account, under the alias Noah Kingsley. She scrolled through unread messages dated between 2020 and 2022. Dozens of emails to Arya. Love letters, flight itineraries, even booking confirmations for medical appointments. One subject line chilled her blood. Confirming date, July 12th. She opened it. A calendar invite titled Arya's Return, with no location. Her breath hitched. She dug deeper, finding a hidden folder labeled Archive_2019. Inside were scanned documents. Arya's birth certificate, passport, even her obituary, filed as an accidental drowning in July 2019. That was the date on Tessa's voicemail. When she disappeared, it was July 12th. Ilara's hand shook as she downloaded each file. The obituary bore Noah's signature as the next of kin. He had declared Arya dead. Then he archived her existence and resurrected her through his romance with Ilara. Tessa's voice crackled over the speakerphone. Any luck? Ilara swallowed. He made her legally vanish and then wrote her life story onto me. Tessa's gasp echoed. That's monstrous. Ilara closed the laptop. It's motive. He couldn't live without her, so he erased her and remade her in me. Tessa's tone softened. What will you do? Ilara placed the obituary and passport on the desk. I'll confront him with these. He needs to answer for Arya. She pressed her palm to her heart, feeling the ring burn. No more lies. As the sun dipped below the Lagos skyline, Ilara realized her vengeance would not come from violence, but from truth exposed. She would drag Noah's buried accounts from darkness into the light, and in doing so, free them both from an obsession that had become a cage. The air in the grand ballroom was electric. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light over tables draped in ivory silk. Ilara descended the marble staircase in her emerald gown, heart fluttering with both pride and trepidation. Tonight was supposed to be the celebration of their love, her love story made public. Noah greeted her at the bottom step, sweeping her into his arms. "You look breathtaking," he murmured. His voice sent a thrill through her, but as she looked up, she caught something in his eyes, a momentary blankness, as though he wasn't quite sure who she was. She brushed the feeling aside, and they moved through the crowd. Guests offered toasts. To Alara and Noah, "May your love be as timeless as these stars." Glasses clinked, laughter rippled through the room. Yet Alara felt an undercurrent of tension. Whispers floated. "Did you hear he called her Arya again? Strange playlist, isn't it?" She spotted Marisol in a mint green dress. Marisol beckoned urgently. "Can we talk?" They slipped behind a velvet curtain into a private alcove. Marisol leaned in, voice low. "I saw him staring at you just now. It was like he was searching someone else's face." Alara's pulse quickened. "He called me Arya twice now." Marisol crossed her arms. "At dinner last night, he said he loved Arya too." Alara swallowed bile. "I thought it was me to him." Marisol shook her head. "There's something off." She pocketed her phone. "Look." She played a video she'd surreptitiously recorded. The shimmer of the ballroom behind it, but Noah's gaze was fixed on Alara. Only his expression was distant, haunted, as though he saw someone beyond her. Alara's stomach knotted. I can't do this." Marisol took her arm. "Stay with me. Don't let him corner you." Alara managed a nod, stepping back onto the dance floor. Noah extended his hand. "Dance with me." She hesitated, then placed her hand in his. As they swayed to a soft violin solo, she searched his face for warmth. He murmured, "You're so beautiful." She pressed her lips together. "Noah, do you feel okay?" He stiffened. "Of course." Then his gaze flicked past her, and he whispered, "Arya?" Alara froze, mid-step, mid-breath. The music swelled, and she slipped from his arms. Gasps fluttered across the room. Noah's eyes widened. For a heartbeat they locked, hers blazing with betrayal, his clouded with confusion or guilt. Alara turned and fled, heels clicking against the marble. Behind her, the party dissolved into shocked silence. Outside, the humid Lagos night pressed against her skin as she leaned into the cool of the terrace. The city lights twinkled like distant promises, but her heart felt hollow. She touched her ring finger. The diamond gleamed, but no longer with hope. She had to know why Noah saw Arya in her. Detective Aisha Ibrahim's office smelled of coffee and old paperwork. She greeted Alara with a solemn nod, gesturing to a grainy screen. "This is from the park near your penthouse, July 16th. Alara squinted at the footage. A man arguing with a woman who looked eerily like her. Same height, the same dark curls. The clip showed Noah's profile, jaw clenched, voice raised in fury. The woman backed away, glancing over her shoulder as if terrified. "That's me," Alara whispered, "but I never went to that park." Detective Ibrahim paused. He was wearing rose-scented cologne that day, the same you mentioned after his disappearances. Alara's throat tightened. "Who is she?" The detective tapped the screen. "He calls her Arya. In the audio he says, 'You promised you'd stay with me, Arya,' then pushes her, gently, but forcefully." The playback stuttered. Then he storms off. Alara pressed her palm to her forehead. "He assaulted her, but she's not me." Detective Ibrahim stood. "I'm gathering more footage. If we can find out who that woman is, it might explain his pattern." Alara glanced at the timestamp, for days ago, and the date aligns with the disappearance. The detective nodded gravely. "We'll track her. In the meantime, be careful." Alara left the station, the weight of the CCTV images heavy on her shoulders. The world she thought she shared with Noah was dissolving into fragments of someone else's life. Outside, she dialed Tessa. "I have footage. He was with her, Arya, just days ago." Tessa's voice was tight. "We need her name." Alara exhaled, looking at the passing traffic. "I'll show you the footage tonight." That evening, in the safety of Tessa's apartment, they watched the looped video. The woman in the clip turned her face away, but her silhouette was unmistakable. Tessa paused. "I've seen her before, in one of various photos." She rifled through printed images. "This one, Florence, 2021. She held up a picture. Arya on the balcony with Noah. The same woman from the CCTV, only younger. Ilara's chest tightened. He wasn't just replaying memories. He's rewriting reality. He's hunting her ghost. Tessa met her eyes. We need a plan. If we can find her, maybe she's alive. Ilara nodded, horror and hope merging in her chest. We'll find Arya, and the truth behind every lie. Ilara sat in a dimly lit office at St. Gregory's University, clutching her notebook. Across the desk, a registrar examined her request. No record of a Noah Adedeji attending school here, he said, shaking his head. And our alumni office has no file on him. Her heart pounded. Are you sure? He tapped the database again. Nope. No enrollment, no transcripts. Ilara left, confusion swirling. How could someone who claimed a childhood here never have existed? She visited his former company's headquarters next, introducing herself as a journalist, writing a profile on Noah's philanthropy. The HR manager frowned. Noah who? Ilara swallowed. Noah Adedeji. The manager rifled through old directories. I'm sorry, I don't see anyone by that name. She knocked gently on the boardroom door. I'm sorry to interrupt. The manager stepped out. Something wrong. Ilara's eyes brimmed. All his stories, his degrees, his promotions, they're fabricated? He studied her. If he existed, there'd be some trace. Email, colleagues, performance reviews. Her mind reeled. Next, she contacted an old coworker he'd mentioned, dialing the number with trembling fingers. A woman answered. Yes? Do you remember Noah Adedeji? A long silence. No. Never worked with anyone of that name. She hung up. Ilara sank onto a bench in the lobby, head spinning. Every pillar of his identity was crumbling. If his past was invented, what was real? She opened her phone, scrolling through family photos he'd shared. Birthdays, graduations, travel shots. Each one was accompanied by captions. My proudest moment, or family reunion in Abuja. Concern flickered. Could these be stolen images? Tessa found her later, midday sun slanting across the pavement. Any luck? Ilara shook her head. He's a ghost. Tessa took her hand. If he's fabricated himself, what about Arya? Was she real? Ilara met her gaze. She was real enough for him to mourn her. They decided to hire a private investigator. That evening, the PI delivered preliminary findings. No birth record for Noah in Lagos or Ibadan. No telephone directory listing, and several social media profiles under that name were recently created. Ilara's chest tightened. He built himself from shadows. The PI nodded. I'll dig deeper into financial records. As dusk settled, Ilara stared at her reflection in a tinted window. The face looking back was hers, but the person she thought she loved had no foundation. The man she knew was a stranger. Determination burned in her eyes. She would unmask Noah's past, and in doing so, find Arya's fate, and reclaim her own future from the lies that bound her. Dr. Helen Okoro's consulting room smelled of chamomile and old books. Ilara sat across from her, journal in hand. You treated Noah? She asked. The retired therapist nodded, fingers steepled. He came 3 years ago, distraught over a lost love. His obsession was intense. He described Arya in almost reverent tones. Ilara's pulse quickened. Did he ever mention a breakup? Her disappearance? Dr. Okoro sighed. He claimed she abandoned him. He reported nightmares, memory lapses, gaslighting from her, he said. She tapped a file. I couldn't help him much. He refused consistent sessions. Ilara leaned forward. What about these notes? She pointed to transcripts. Patient refers to another woman named Ilara. The doctor flipped pages. He used your name. Interesting. He said Ilara was a reincarnation of Arya. Ilara's skin prickled. He believed I was her. Dr. Okoro frowned. He struggled to separate past from present. His identity was entangled with her memory. He worshipped her but feared her. Ilara's throat tightened. Did he confess any wrongdoing? The doctor hesitated. There was mention of an argument. He spoke of raising his hand against her, but claimed it was accidental. She paused. He was never charged. Ilara closed her eyes. imagining Arya's terror, then her own shock at seeing herself in CCTV footage. "Thank you." Dr. Okoro looked at her gently. "Be careful. People like him, they can't let go. Their obsession becomes their reality." Ilara stood, tucking the file into her bag. "I need to end this, for both our sakes." Dr. Okoro nodded. "Truth can set you free." As Ilara left, the afternoon sun felt sharper, illuminating truths she'd long denied. She would confront Noah with his own therapy records, his own words, and force him to face reality. That evening, Ilara returned to find Noah waiting in the living room, a tentative smile on his lips. "I missed you," he said softly. "I made dinner." Her jaw clenched. "Noah, we need to talk." He guided her to the couch. "Anything. But please, let's start with dinner." She exhaled, voice firm. "I found your school records. There are none. I found your therapy notes. You believe I'm Arya reincarnated. You've been gaslighting me." His face drained. "Ilara, it's not like that." She stood. "Stop lying. You hired detectives to track Arya. You filled your life with her memories, then tried to overwrite mine." He rose, pacing. "I was trying to protect you from my trauma." "Protect me," she echoed. "You've controlled every aspect of my life since we met." He halted. "I love you." She met his gaze. "Then let me go to work again. Let me have my friends, my social media. Don't demand I delete my life." He stepped closer. "You don't need them." His voice dropped. "You only need me." She felt panic rise as the walls seemed to close in. "Noah." He took her hand, eyes glinting. "Stay with me always. I promise I'll never abandon you, like she did." Tears welled in her eyes. "That's not love. That's possession." He shook his head, voice tight. "I need you. Only you." Ilara backed away. The ring on her finger felt like shackles. "I can't live like this." His hand shot out, brushing her arm. "You're not leaving." Her heart pounded. Outside, the night was still, but inside, a storm raged. She realized she was trapped in his web of obsession, and as she stared at his desperate eyes, she understood. Escaping him would demand every ounce of courage she possessed. Ilara stepped into the penthouse foyer, exhaustion trailing her like a shadow. Her leather satchel weighed heavily at her side. Inside, Dr. Okoro's files and Tessa's battered phone, evidence she intended to use against Noah. Yet before she could ascend to the study, she spotted a plain ivory box on the console table, its lid tied with a satin ribbon. Her breath hitched. She lifted the ribbon, the satin cool under her fingertips, and removed the lid. Inside lay a wedding dress, ivory lace cascading into a train, delicate beadwork shimmering in the glow of the chandelier. Ilara's pulse thundered in her ears. It was exquisite, too exquisite. She pulled the dress free and spread it on the table, examining the bodice. The lace pattern formed a subtle motif of intertwining vines, identical to the photograph Tessa had shown her of Arya's gown from Mykonos. Her hands trembled as she lifted the accompanying note on monogram stationery. "For my bride. I can't wait to see you wear this. Love, Arya." Ilara's throat constricted. Noah had signed the note, Arya. He wasn't addressing Ilara. He was addressing the woman who no longer existed. Tears pricked Ilara's eyes. The dress, so beautiful, so intimate, was sewn for someone else. Someone he mourned. She pressed her palm against the lace. The silk was cool, yet she felt heat in her chest. Anger flared. He dared present her with a relic of his obsession, but hurt sliced deeper. How had she allowed this man to warp her life into a shrine for someone he'd lost? She carried the gown to the full-length mirror in the bedroom. The pristine ivory shimmered under the soft lamplight. Ilara slipped off her blouse and jeans, slipping a hand beneath the skirt to guide her legs through. The fabric hugged her curves, cinched at the waist, then flared like a blossoming flower. In the mirror, she saw herself transformed, a bride, poised and radiant. Yet her reflection's eyes were haunted. A shrill chirp on her phone startled her. She drew the gown aside, careful not to soil it, and answered. It was Tessa. "I found something." Her voice whispered urgently. "You need to see me now." Ilara's heart stuttered. She pressed her palm to her chest. feeling the weight of the dress and the gravity of the moment. Should she go to Tessa in this borrowed garment, this symbol of Noah's twisted devotion, or discard it and confront him naked, with nothing but truth? She folded the dress with trembling precision and placed it back into its box, sealing the ribbon. Then she grabbed her keys and phone, leaving the penthouse in a swirl of ivory and regret. As the door closed behind her, the note fluttered to the ground, its satin ribbon unraveling like a loose string in her heart. Outside, the humid Lagos air wrapped around her like a cloak. Ilara inhaled, steeling herself. The wedding dress was no gift. It was a gauntlet thrown down by a man obsessed with a ghost. And she would not wear another woman's memory as her own. She would confront him. She would demand her own story. And she would reclaim her future, stitch by stitch, until every thread belonged to her alone. Ilara returned to the penthouse late that night, heart pounding with adrenaline from her meeting with Tessa. She let herself in quietly, footsteps echoing on marble floors. In the kitchen, the soft hum of the refrigerator was the only sound. She poured a glass of water and tucked Tessa's USB drive into her clutch, determined to decrypt whatever secrets it held. The next morning, she awoke on the plush mattress, sunlight filtering through blackout curtains. Her head ached, as though thunderclouds had stormed through her mind. She sat up, disoriented. The room spun. She rubbed her temples. On the nightstand, Noah's vitamins sat in a row, glass bottles, with neatly printed labels. She reached for one and tossed 2 pills into her palm. But instead of swallowing, she inspected them. One capsule was intact, the other crushed, its powder scattered across the tray. Alarm jolted through her. She dumped the pills back into the jar, scattering white crumbs over the nightstand. Had she drugged herself? The thought felt absurd, until the door clicked and Noah's silhouette appeared in the doorway. "Morning, love," he said, voice soft. He strode to her, expression worried. "You look pale." She held up her hand. "These aren't vitamins." Her voice was brittle. "What did you do?" Noah's face shadowed. You passed out last night. I gave you a mild sedative, so you could rest." "Ilara," she whispered, anger and betrayal intertwining. "I don't need sedatives. I need truth." He hesitated, then closed the distance. "I was worried you'd panic, with everything we've uncovered." She recoiled. "You're controlling my mind." He exhaled. "I'm trying to help you cope." Ilara's chest tightened. "You drugged me without consent." Tears glistened in his eyes. "I love you. I didn't want you to suffer." Her fury flared. "You turned my bedroom into a pharmacy. You've invaded my body." He sank onto the bed, head in hands. "I can't lose you. I can't let you slip away, like she did." Ilara stared at him, heart hammering. His confession hung in the air. He treated her like Arya, protecting, controlling, prescribing his own remedies. She ripped the pill jar from the nightstand and hurled it against the wall. Glass shattered, pills skittered across the floor. Noah flinched, pain coursing through his gaze. "Please," he pleaded, voice raw. "Let me make this right." She backed away, hands trembling. "You've poisoned my trust." Her voice cracked. "If you ever touch my drinks again, I'll never forgive you." He nodded, swallowing hard. "I'm sorry." Ilara turned and fled, sandals slapping against the hardwood. In the living room, she collapsed on the sofa, breath ragged. Reality snapped into focus. Her body was a battleground. She realized how close she'd come to losing her mind, to gaslighting so thorough that she no longer knew what was real. Outside, the city pulsed with life, indifferent to her turmoil. She pressed a trembling hand to her chest and vowed. She would test every glass, inspect every pill, trust no remedy that bore Noah's touch. Her freedom began with the integrity of her own body, and she would guard it fiercely, even if it meant tearing down the man she once believed was her soulmate. Ilara sat at her kitchen table, flashlight flicking between rows of encrypted files on Tessa's USB drive. The evening sky beyond the windows had deepened to indigo. Every flicker of neon from the boulevard below seemed to mock her, life moving on while she unraveled. She heard a soft knock and looked up to see Tessa slipping inside, holding a small digital tape recorder. "I brought this," Tessa said. Record him when he talks. He won't lie on tape. Elara's gaze flickered to the device. The thought of capturing Noah's voice, his admissions, his lies, sent shivers through her. She nodded. Good idea. They settled in the study. Elara placed the recorder beneath a stack of papers on the desk, pressed record, and sat beside Tessa on the sofa. Minutes passed in tense silence, broken only by the hum of the air conditioner. Suddenly, footsteps on the marble floor announced Noah's arrival. He entered, carrying fresh coffee. I thought you might want to pick me up, he said, placing mugs on the desk. Tessa cleared her throat. Actually, we'd like to talk. She gestured at the recorder. Just casual conversation. Would you mind answering some questions? Noah's eyes darted to the device. What's that? He asked. Elara offered a polite smile. A new voice memo app. Thought it'd be more convenient than scribbling notes. She tilted her head. Let's start with something simple. Tell me about the proposal. Noah relaxed and leaned back. The proposal was perfect. Under the stars, everything felt like destiny. His voice was warm, confident. Tessa waited a beat, then asked, And when did you realize you loved Elara? Noah's smile faltered. I've always loved her. She completes me. He lifted his mug and sipped. Elara glanced at Tessa. The recorder's red light pulsed steadily. Tell us about Arya, she said quietly. Noah's expression hardened. He set down the mug. I thought we agreed not to talk about her. Elara's heart pounded. I need the truth. On record. She leaned forward. Start from the beginning. Noah exhaled and ran a hand through his hair. Fine. He spoke haltingly, voice wavering. Arya was my childhood friend. We fell in love in college. Tessa exchanged a look with Elara, then scribbled in a notebook. The recorder captured every word. Noah continued. She disappeared in July 2019. I was devastated. My therapist suggested I write about her, to keep her memory alive. I never intended to hurt Elara, but I couldn't let go. His confession spilled out. The buried accounts, the wedding plans, the playlists. Elara's breath hitched as he described presenting the dress, mixing their lives. On tape, his voice cracked. I thought if I loved Elara enough, Arya would forgive me. Elara closed her eyes, fighting tears. Noah spoke of gaslighting, controlling, writing Elara's memories for his own peace. The recorder hissed softly, the tension palpable. When he finished, there was only silence. Noah sank into the chair, head bowed. The recorder blinked. Elara rose, voice steady but soft. Thank you, Noah. She pointed at the device. This is evidence of everything. You can't deny it now. Noah looked up, agony in his eyes. Elara, I love you. His voice trembled. I never meant. She turned away, pressing her palm to her mouth. The tape recorder's light pulsed, capturing the moment truth finally broke free. Outside, the city lights blurred through the window, indifferent witnesses to the confession that would shatter them both. With the tape recorder safely stowed and Tessa's support unwavering, Elara delved back into Noah's digital archives. She found a hidden folder labeled Archive_Arya, and inside, a subfolder named Wedding_2019. Her breath caught as she opened it. There were documents, contracts with florists, banquet hall bookings, seating charts, all dated 3 years ago, stamped with Arya's name. One PDF titled Elara_dress_fitting included measurements not hers, but nearly identical to her own. Elara's pulse thundered. She leaned back, journal in hand. The wedding dress had been a rehearsal, an experiment to see how she'd embody Arya's life. Each file was a blueprint, menus tailored to Arya's favorite cuisine, playlists of her childhood songs, even vows composed by Noah's hand. He had practiced marriage with Arya, then with Elara. Tessa studied the screen beside her. He did this before, she murmured. He built a life around Arya's ghost, then tested it on you. Elara closed her eyes. He's been living in her past, practicing on us. Her voice trembled. We were practice brides. They cross-referenced guest lists. Arya's invitations showed dozens of names, each with a mark, RSVP, yes. None of those guests had ever attended a 2019 wedding, because the ceremony never happened. It existed only in files. Ilara's vision blurred. She pressed her palm to the desk. He created the illusion of a perfect wedding for Arya, then replaced her with me, without skipping a beat. Tessa's expression hardened. He's documented every detail. The table linens, the toasts, the flowers. This is meticulous obsession. Ilara snapped her laptop shut. He rehearsed marriage with Arya. Then when she was gone, he rehearsed with me. Her voice broke. I'm not the final bride. I'm just the next practice. Tessa reached for her hand. You'll be the one to end this. The next morning, Ilara stood in the penthouse living room, confronting Noah with printed copies of the wedding folder. He stared at them, guilt etched across his face. She held up the documents. You practiced on Arya, then on me. All these files were for a wedding that never occurred. Noah's voice was hollow. I just wanted you to understand how much I loved her. Ilara's eyes burned with fury. You loved a ghost. You married her in your mind. He sank onto the sofa, trembling. I know it's unforgivable. Ilara's voice was cold steel. This stops now. Noah looked up, despair flooding his eyes. I'm sorry, but Ilara knew apologies couldn't undo years of obsession. She would dismantle every practice file, every rehearsal plan, every lie. And only then could she claim her own future. Ilara stood before Noah in the study. The weight of evidence laid bare between them. Therapy transcripts, CCTV stills, wedding practice files, the tape recorder's confessions. His expression was ashen, guilt and fear battling in his eyes. She took a breath. We've gone through every lie, every memory you placed on me, every file you buried. Her voice was steady, though her heart hammered. Now, you have one chance to tell me the truth. Noah's shoulders slumped. He closed his eyes, then opened them with tears glistening. Ilara, you're her. He whispered, voice cracking. You just don't remember yet. The words hung like a guillotine blade poised above her chest. Ilara's breath hitched. What are you saying? He rose unsteadily and walked around the desk, standing close enough that she felt the tremor in his frame. You were always Arya, he said, voice hoarse. She came back as you. His hand reached for her face, and when I looked into your eyes, I saw her. Ilara's pulse thundered. You think I'm Arya reborn? Her voice was incredulous, pained. That I vanished once and returned as someone else. Noah's tears spilled. I tried to merge you, to merge your memory with your life. I thought if I put you through the same moments, the same promises, you would remember her. His voice broke. I created you to be her. You are Arya. Ilara recoiled. You made me a vessel for your grief. Her hand flew to her mouth. You destroyed me. He sank to his knees, clutching her hand. I'm sorry. I can't live without her, or you. You are the only reality I have. Ilara's vision blurred. The man she loved, the man she sought to rescue, was lost in delusion. Her heart shattered for Arya, for herself. She pressed her palm to her chest, feeling the fracture of her identity. Arya, she whispered, voice breaking. She's gone. I'm Ilara. Noah's tears fell. You'll remember, he pleaded. You have to. Ilara stood, grief and rage mingling. I choose to remember myself. She stepped back. Our story ends here. He sobbed. Don't leave me. She turned away. The penthouse suddenly too small. The evidence of his obsession lay like broken glass at her feet. As she reached the door, her voice was firm. Goodbye, Noah. Behind her, he remained kneeling, his world undone. Outside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the city. Ilara's steps echoed down the marble hallway, each one reclaiming her name, her life, her truth. And with each step, the shattering of his illusions echoed behind her, loud as thunder, irrevocable as heartbreak. Ilara's fingertips traced the edges of the safe house key card as she stood in the dimly lit corridor, heart drumming in her ears. The one-bedroom flat Tessa had secured on Lagos Island felt like a fortress compared to the penthouse. No rose petals, no hidden cameras, just peeling paint, a threadbare sofa, and the muted promise of anonymity. She exhaled and slipped inside. Tessa looked up from the battered dining table, where a single lamp cast golden light across scattered papers and a leather-bound photo album. "Everything set?" she asked, voice low and steady. Ilara nodded, placing a heavy duffel on the table. Inside it rattled with evidence. Therapy transcripts littered with Aria's name. Wedding rehearsal plans, stamped July 2019. The tape recorder still hot with Noah's confessions. "I leave at midnight," she said. "Service elevator to B3, through the back alley. My ride waits in an unmarked car." Tessa folded her arms. Drivers briefed. "Straight to the marina, no stops. From there, a boat to Benin City, onward routes ready. You'll have new papers and a burner phone at each checkpoint." Ilara pressed a hand to her chest. Fear and resolve coiled inside her. "If I cross the border, I rebuild. But one misstep and," she swallowed. Tessa placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You plan for every misstep. He won't predict this." Ilara opened the duffel and inspected its contents. A set of dark, nondescript clothes, envelopes of cash in multiple currencies, a scarf, sunglasses, and cap for disguise, a paper map with alternate routes circled in red. She produced a photograph of Aria taped inside a notebook, the little girl's smile frozen in time. "For her," Ilara whispered, voice tight. Tessa handed her a thick envelope, sealed with a crest. "Alias documents. ID under Neka Okoye, passport, driver's license, everything." Ilara tucked it into her coat pocket. "Thank you. I'm terrified." Tessa squeezed her hand. "Fear means you know what's at stake. Now channel it into courage." They sat on the battered sofa as Ilara recited every detail. Elevator code, driver's license plate, burner phone switch at 015, the decoy appointment taped to the front door. Tessa listened, memorizing each element. The clock ticked past 11:45 p.m. Ilara donned her trench coat and boots, double-checked the duffel, then switched off the lamp, plunging the apartment into shadow. "Go now," Tessa whispered. Ilara paused at the door, picturing the penthouse's glass walls and chandelier glow. Her prison. She whispered a new name under her breath. Neka Okoye. Then, steeling herself, she turned the knob and stepped into the corridor. The door clicked shut. Every footstep echoed like a countdown. Ilara inhaled the polyester-scented air, reminding herself that this was her story now. She strode toward the service elevator, each beat closer to midnight, each breath a promise of escape. Ilara arrived before dusk and slipped into the penthouse kitchen, donning an apron. Tonight's menu: jollof rice with tender tilapia, peppered stew, and a salad adorned with rosemary sprigs. Her bag sat packed by the door, clothes, documents, the album. The plan: one last dinner as Ilara ate in Iran, then slip away into the night. She lit 2 candles and set a small vase of gardenias on the table by the window, overlooking Lagos's glittering skyline. Her hands trembled as she plated the food, poured 2 glasses of palm wine, and added a single sprig of mint to each. A knock at the door. She turned. Noah stood there, looking unexpectedly vulnerable in his crisp white shirt. His eyes lit at the spread. "Ilara, you didn't have to." She offered a practiced smile. "I wanted to." She stepped aside so he could enter. He set down his briefcase and inhaled deeply. "It smells home." They sat opposite one another, candles flickering between them. She poured the wine. He raised his glass. "To us," he toasted, voice soft. Ilara clinked her glass. "To us." She forced a laugh at his jokes, relishing the momentary ease. Midway through dinner, he set down his fork. "I wrote my vows tonight," he said quietly. "I wanted to read them to you." She froze, fork midway to her mouth. His eyes were hopeful. "Go ahead," she said. He cleared his throat. "Ilara, he hesitated, searching her face. "I promise to love you beyond shadows and ghosts. I promise to remember you, not her." Her chest tightened. She held his gaze, remembering every lie. "Thank you," she said softly. "That means more than you know." He smiled, relief shining. She collected her empty plate, standing. "I'm just going to freshen up." She tucked the album into her purse and adjusted her dress. He watched her every move, devotion mingling with sorrow in his eyes. In the hallway, She undid her earring and slipped it into her purse. One less trace of Elara to tether her. She exhaled at the door's threshold. Her bags weighed a reminder of destiny. Then she returned and helped him clear dishes, their hands brushing. He paused, fingers lingering. "Everything okay?" She nodded, voice steady. "Perfect." She placed a final candle on the table. "Thank you for dinner." He rose, stepped close, and kissed her temple. "I love you." She whispered, "Good night," and slipped into the corridor, closing the door softly. Behind her, he remained in the living room, a figure framed by candlelight, believing she'd stay. But Elara vanished into the night, her heart pounding with both guilt and relief. Elara's heels clicked on the marble floor as she crept into the penthouse's silent garage. Her bag was in hand. The black sedan Tessa had left for her escape stood nearby. She pressed the key fob, nothing. She pressed again. The lights remained dark. Panic surged. She patted her coat. No phone. Her breaths came fast. She knelt beside the sedan, pried at the battery compartment empty. She staggered upright. "No," she muttered. A mechanical click echoed behind her. Noah stepped from the service elevator, silhouette framed by pale light. He studied her, expression calm. "Elara." His voice was low, almost tender. She backpedaled. "You moved the battery." He closed the gap, hands in pockets. "I moved it so you wouldn't get hurt." His eyes glittered. "You don't belong out here." She swallowed, voice shaking. "I belong to myself." He stepped closer, blocking her path to the elevator shaft. "You think you can outrun me? I know every move you make." His tone was soft menace. "But you never outran me." Her chest tightened. She kicked at the garage door's keypad. No response. He changed the code. She spun to a barred window, yanked her suitcase, and flung it at the glass. Sparks of panic rose as the reinforced panes refused to shatter. He watched in silence. Tears pricked her eyes. "Let me go." He moved in, placing a gentle palm on her arm. "You're mine. You were always Arya." Elara's pulse rattled. She yanked her hand free, revealing the small knife hidden in her purse. With trembling fingers, she extended it. He flinched, but did not retreat. "You think this scares me?" She pressed the blade forward. His arm brushed it, drawing blood. He winced. She stepped back, horror and anger colliding. "Stop," she whispered. He frowned, inspecting the cut. "Did you really think you could beat me at my own game?" Her voice cracked. "This isn't a game." He sighed, eyes softening. "I needed you. I loved Arya. When she died, I lost everything. Then I found you." His words tumbled, raw with longing. "I can't lose you too." Elara pressed her forehead to the cold wall. He predicted this, every exit, every panic. His obsession had become a prison. She dropped the knife. "I'll find another way," she whispered. He shook his head. "No, you were never leaving." And as the garage lights hummed above them, Elara realized he had anticipated her escape more thoroughly than she'd ever prepared. Love had become a cage, and she stood trapped in its steel bars. Dawn light filtered into the safe house's living room as Elara rifled through Tessa's files, despair coiling in her chest. A soft knock at the door drew her gaze. Tessa entered, breathless, clutching a slim manila envelope. "I found it, your parents' photo album, hidden in the archives." Elara's heart lurched. She peeled open the envelope, revealing a leather-bound album thick with childhood photographs. With trembling fingers, she opened to the first page. A Christmas tableau in 1995. On a velvet sofa, a little girl with dark braids, Arya, smiled between a younger Elara and a boy in a crisp suit, Noah. Elara's breath hitched. She pointed. "That's me. And Arya and Noah." Tessa settled beside her. "Arya was your sister, Elara. You were 6 when she died in the accident. Your mind blocked it out." Pages turned, unveiling snapshots of birthdays, backyard games, school concerts, Arya's laughter immortalized in each frame. Dates and captions in Elara's childish scrawl. "My sister Arya, and Noah and Arya forever." Tears spilled as realization washed over her. I'd forgot her. Her voice trembled. I blocked my own sister. Tessa's hand closed over hers. Noah remembered. He saw Arya in everything, especially you. Ilara's gaze flicked to a Polaroid of teenage her holding Arya's dental cast, scribbled for Arya's smile. She pressed a palm to her mouth. I gave him her cast, and he gave it back to me as love. Tessa stood. Now you have the truth. Confront him with this album. Ilara rose, clutching the leather spine. He'll hear the name Arya Adeniran tonight. She exhaled, grief and fury intertwining. He destroyed Arya and tried to destroy me. Now I'll reclaim both our stories. Outside, Lagos stirred. Inside, Ilara closed the album with purpose. The burning truth had scorched every illusion. She met Tessa's unwavering glance. Let's finish this. Ilara stepped into the penthouse one final time, duffel over her shoulder and album in hand. The skyline glowed behind her, an audience to her last act. She moved to the bar cart, retrieved a slender velvet box, and extracted a small vial of translucent liquid. Her final confrontation. A knock at the door. She composed herself. Come in, she called. Noah entered, confusion and hope mingling in his gaze. He froze when he saw the album open on the coffee table. Ilara. She gestured to the sofa. Sit. He obeyed, unease pooling in his eyes. She uncorked a bottle of his favorite Cabernet and poured 2 glasses. He reached for one. What's this for? Ilara's voice was quiet but firm. To remember who you loved. She pointed to the album's Christmas photo. Arya at the center, Ilara and Noah on either side. This was Arya. He blinked, brow furrowed. She slid a glass to him. Drink. His hand shook as he sipped. Immediately he clutched his throat, coughing. The glass dropped, spilling wine across the rug. Ilara rushed forward, kneeling beside him as he gasped. His eyes, once so full of life, clouded. Ilara, you poisoned me. His voice was faint. Tears blurred her vision. I freed myself. She touched his cheek. I'm not her. He coughed, crimson blooming on his lips. I'm sorry. I loved you both. His hand reached for hers, weak and trembling. You were always Arya, but you were Ilara. She pressed his fingers. Heartbreaking. Goodbye, Noah. Noah's head lolled back as a final breath escaped him. She rose as distant sirens wailed, Tessa's signal that the police were moments away. Ilara gathered her album and duffel, pausing at the threshold. For a moment, she gazed at his still form, grief wrenching her chest. Then she stepped into the cool Lagos night, leaving behind a life of cages and shadows. Bruised and broken, but at last unbound, Ilara Adeniran walked into her future, free to write her own story beneath the endless Nigerian sky. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.